All right, before we start part 6 of the 8 class series, which is balance, we're going to look at some modifications with the chair. One of the poses we take is high lunge with a twist standing upright. So you can use the chair here for balance and focus on just one arm opening behind, taking a hand to shoulder if it's tough on the shoulder to twist. And then using the chair back for transitions as we come into standing balancing poses. So here, when we move from lunge up to a standing twist, you can step up, use the chair back for balance, and then pull your knee up. You can turn to the side. This is actually a better way to practice the standing twist. You've got the chair to your hip, the side that you're twisting towards. And then use the chair back for balance on your fingertips. So in the class, I give you options to keep your knee bent or your legs straight. You can play with either of those variations using the hand on the chair back to touch down and then maybe test the balance, pull it away. You know the chair is there. You can always go right back to it for assistance. And then turning the chair to seat to face you, you could put your foot on the chair seat for balance, grab your opposite knee with hand, and then it's just a matter of touching down and lifting up and testing your balance there. Another option is to put your foot up on the chair back and work towards that straight leg twist. All right, we'll move on to the next transition, right into Warrior 3 from that twist. So fingertips come to the chair seat. And you can lift your chest. You can walk your hands forward up to the back of the chair seat or the chair back with your forearms. All right. And then even moving here into half moon, right down to the chair seat with your elbow. You can keep the other hand on the chair back. And then you can always challenge your balance here by lifting up off the chair seat or lifting up off the chair back with your left hand, taking one hand up to the ceiling. Good. And then when we come back into lunge, you can use the chair for help. Here's another view of half moon with the chair kind of turned off to the side instead. So the chair seat, your fingertips go to, and the chair seat is facing the left side. If you put your left arm on the chair seat, then your right hand comes to the chair back to assist in the opening of half moon. And this helps to take the pressure out of your hip and work on that rotation instead. And then right there, you've got the chair to help you transition back into high lunge. Okay. Another posture that we take in this practice is revolved triangle and pyramid pose, revolved half moon. So that's all a transition. Here's revolved triangle with your elbow on the chair seat, your foot under the chair seat. That's one way to go about it. And then you can turn the chair, and just like we did half moon, elbows on the chair seat, your hand is on the chair back. So play with the rotation of the chair, however it suits your body best. Right? All right, one more way to practice revolved triangle here is turning the chair back towards you, so the seat is facing away from you, and your hand goes to the bottom rung, and then your shoulder is pushing into the chair seat to keep your shoulder from wonking out and doing weird things, and then you can open up into the twist. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the chair seat facing you, and then actually, never mind, we're going to turn it out again the way it was. And here's the revolved half moon. So right out of that chair seat facing the side that you're twisting away, so you're kind of twisting into the chair back, okay? And then your hands on the chair back, and then you can open in the revolved half moon. All right, let's move on to the standing balancing pose that moves into the arm balance. This is that number 4 squat. So if I want to work this ankle strength and mobility, I'm going to keep moving that ankle under my knee and creating this awkward angle in the ankle. You could even play with pushing up to standing here for extra work, extra thigh work, like squats. All right, from the actual arm balance, or from the actual standing balance, we'll move down towards the arm balance. So squatting on your foot is hard for ankle mobility, so you can instead kneel and then set up a couple blocks in front for your shoulders, just for a little safety, mental safety. You're really not going to lean much onto the shoulders, but it's there for you if you need to put your shoulders on them. Again, you're not going to lean onto the blocks. You can just play with here, then lifting a foot and putting it down, lifting the foot, putting it down, and you can come right back down to your knee. Okay. One more little exercise here. This may be a little bit more advanced of a modification, but everybody needs a little bit more. So block under the foot behind and a block forward for your chin, and then you're tapping chin and toes. A little teeter-totter, chin, toes. Just working that rocking back and forth to build up the wrist and shoulder and core strength for the arm balance. All right, enjoy your class. All right, welcome to part 6 of our 8-part series. This one is all about balance. So we're going to start in a grounded position before we start to balance. In Hero Pose Virasana, I'm using 2 blocks under my sitting bones. In a kneeling position, sitting down with my ankles squeezing the blocks, the ends of the blocks. And if this is, even with the block support, really uncomfortable, you can come into an easy seated position or sit in a chair. I'm just here for a few moments. Find your breath and get in touch with where you are in your balance right now, even here just seated. And so feeling the balance between your 2 sitting bones, wherever you're sitting, if your feet are on the floor, if your knees are on the floor, feel the balance there. Breathe up from those areas, from your belly up into your chest, and then feel the balance of your shoulders over your hips and your ears over your shoulders. Feel the back of your head line up with the back of your heart and the back of your hips and the tips of your toes. And focus on the stream of your breath, the flow of your breath. And then just noticing the state of your emotions, the balanced state, imbalanced. It's okay, no judgment. And then we're going to move in just a few moments here so you can wiggle out your fingers and prepare yourself to then inhale, stretch your arms up to the ceiling. Take a side bend here, grab your left wrist and draw your arm over. Don't fall off your blocks though. And then go to the other side, grab your right wrist and stretch your arm over, push down into your right sit bone so you don't wobble. Good, one big stretch. Right, and then we'll come off those blocks into downward facing dog. First set it up in tabletop to get your alignment and ready for downward facing dog. So before rushing into downward facing dog, as always, take as long as you need in tabletop. If cat cow, or if that feels good, or if just staying there in down dog feels better, or tabletop feels better, just stay there. But when you're ready, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and feel the balance here between your 2 hands and your 2 feet. So there's equal weight support, equal weight distribution. We're going to stretch out a little bit before we start to flow. So another big breath here. Open your chest, open your pelvis, and then you're going to step your right foot forward and stay on the floor with your fingers. You can use blocks under your hands. Little stretch here, runner stretch. Lift your chest through your shoulders. Activate your back leg. I'm not expecting anything from this other than just, like I said, warming up, getting ready to move. Okay, and then step right back into downward facing dog after a few rounds of breath there. And then in downward facing dog, sync it up, breath, balance, thoughts, emotions. The left foot's going to step forward and open your chest through your shoulders. Activate your back leg. And again, just being here with space, noticing what's going on in your right leg and your left leg and your shoulders and your wrists. Good way to check in before we start to move. All right, and then you can step right back into downward facing dog. Smooth out your breath here, as always. Smooth breath from belly to back. Squeeze those thighs, lift your kneecaps up. Press out through your hands. Go ahead and walk forward, and then you've got that hand foundation there. If your fingertips need to come up, that's fine, or use blocks on your hands here for the forward fold. Okay, and then you're going to lift your left leg and just stretch out here for a moment. It doesn't matter how high the left leg gets, just testing the balance instead of just jumping right into it, or just testing it out. And then fold back in, lower your left leg back down. Good, and then lift your right leg, lift your head, so fingertips to the floor or hands to blocks. Yep. Just balancing here with fingertips in assistance, and then right foot down, forward fold over your legs again. All right, so we're going to do that again. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your left leg. This time lift your right arm. So again, that left leg does not need to go up any higher than you can lift it up. In fact, it doesn't even matter how high it is. Don't pay attention to my leg here. Just let your arm and leg lift. So balancing, just taking one point of balance out of the equation. Forward fold, release your leg back down. And we'll do that on the second side. So now your right leg's going to lift, and then your left hand's going to lift. So again, just taking out that left hand. So you've got only 2 points of balance here. Again, just building up towards that balance instead of just diving into it. And testing it. Notice here if your balance is wonky. So then don't get mad at yourself when throughout this practice the balance doesn't seem real stable, because if you practice this again tomorrow, the balance might be significantly improved. All right, release your hand and leg and fold. Exhale. All right, we're going to come all the way up. Inhale, push down into the floor, reach your arms up to the ceiling. And Samastitihi, standing pose. So we're going to move through a moon salutation. All right, reach up your arms, inhale. And stretch off to the right. Use your right hand to pull your left arm over, push into your left foot. Lift the left ribs to the ceiling, and then inhale, come back up, take the left ribs back to neutral. And then when you go to your left, use your left hand to pull your right arm over, squeeze your left ribs that were just stretching. So squeeze those muscles. So now your right ribs are stretching up to the ceiling, and you're pushing down into your right foot. Good. And then come back to neutral, right ribs relax, inhale, and exhale, Samastitihi. So you're going to step back with your left leg right into goddess squat. So be careful here, this is balance. So if you lean back too far or sit back too far, you're going to wobble, right? I'll show you here in a minute. I get a little dramatic. And maybe just lift your hips up a little bit, right? Whoa, there. Yeah, so if you notice the moment you move too far in one direction, the balance, even though both feet are on the floor, the balance can be challenged here. So you're welcome to take your hands down to your thighs, elbows to thighs, stretch out those toes on the floor. Good. And then press your legs to straight. Turn your toes in. This is a 5-point star. So just opening your arms in a star shape. You're going to turn your right toes in and your left toes towards the back of your mat. Exhale into Trikonasana, triangle pose. This is a moon salutation, so the postures really aren't supposed to be held really long, but we're going to stay here for just about 2-3 breaths. And just stretching up with your right hand. And then take your right hand down into a forward fold pyramid pose. So it's just a matter of turning your shoulders and your ribs over your left leg now. Left knee can bend, also right heel can lift. Just stretching out. Okay, so go ahead and wiggle your right leg back now. Lower your right knee down. Low lunge here. Push down into the floor. And then inhale, reach your arms up again. Just a breath or two here. So it's not super fast movement. It's also not a really long hold. And then you can slowly take your hands back down to the floor, move into a twist, that runner's lunge. If you remember, we did this at the beginning, a twist here. The left arm up to the ceiling, push down into your right hand, squeeze your right thigh, open your chest. Right, and then come out of this twist, and then we're going to move into Skandasana stretch. So on that left foot squatting, turn your right toes up to the ceiling. Use your fingers on the floor for balance. All right, so if you saw my YouTube video about that wasp, this is, I think, where I first saw that dumb wasp. And from here on out, my balance sucks because I'm freaking out about this wasp. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the Instagram video. All right, switch to the other side. Malasana, the Skandasana, one leg squat. And then again, use your fingers for balance here. Left toes are up to the ceiling. You're squatting on your right leg this time. And then we're going to turn to the front and go to a low lunge on the second side. So actually, it's a twist before the low lunge. So left hand on the floor, right arm up to the ceiling. Squeeze that left knee. Left leg is straight. So we're just twisting here in that runner's lunge. And then we'll come down to the low lunge. So hands down, left knee down. You can flip your toes back or you can keep your left toes tucked. Inhale, lift your head up over the back of your hips and reach your arms up. So remember that alignment we had at the beginning in the seated position. Head over the back of your hips. All right, and then slow release of your hands down to the floor. Tuck your back toes under. We're going to move this into that pyramid stretch. Your left heel can stay up or your left heel can turn down. And then fold out over your right leg. Smooth breath here just for a moment before we open up into triangle pose. And here, right hand to your shin, open your left arm up to the ceiling, coming into Trikonasana out of pyramid. Lean back, again, back of head, back of hips, line up, find the balance here. So even this could be a challenging balance pose. And then press up to stand for this star, standing star shape. Before then moving back into goddess squat, Devyasana. Again, sit down into your heels, bend your knees in the direction of your second toe. You can open your arms in goalpost. You can rest on your thighs. All right, and then press your legs to straight and step forward to the top of your mat, back to Tadasana or Samastiti, mountain or standing pose of equal balance. Good, inhale, reach your arms up, stretch out. And as you exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Step right back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Check back in with the 4 points of contact here, the 4 points of foundation, hands and feet. And then an easy little Chaturanga, so come into plank pose first, and then knees down, thighs down, hip creases down as you bend your elbows, belly button comes down. And then inhale, roll up into Cobra, lift your belly button back up. Good, exhale, over your knees, tuck your toes, and lift back up, downward facing dog. Lengthen out your back, lengthen out the shoulder seam so the back of your shoulders are smooth. The upper neck is smooth. Wrists are smooth, so there's no sharp angles in or out. Elbows, wrists, shoulders, all of these. And then even think about your legs, smooth lines, not necessarily straight, just smooth lines. They can be curved. All right, lift your right leg as you inhale. You can look forward to see where you're going to go. You're going to pull that right knee into your chest and step your right foot forward. You're going to set up for a high lunge here. This is balancing right here. You're on your left toes, left heel's off the floor. Right knee and right heel are lined up. Lift your head again back up over the back of your hips. And then you can challenge your balance a little bit more. If it's feeling pretty good here, you can look up to your thumbs. If that's too wobbly, take your gaze forward again. And keep your chest lifted. You're going to twist to the right. So the right hand comes back, left arm forward. And try to keep your head lined up over the back of your hips. Really using your core here, especially on the release, so it's not a fast release, because if it's too quick, it'll knock you over. Back to high lunge. Okay, and then you're going to take this into a standing balance. So you're going to come off your left foot, pulling your left knee up to your chest as you stand on your right leg. Use your right hand on the front of your left shin here to twist. You can keep your left hand on your hip. Adding on if you want, you can take your right hand to the outside of your left leg and straighten out your left leg. Make sure the left hip doesn't lift. Keep pushing your left sit bone down, and you can look back towards your left fingertips as they stretch open behind you, or you could keep your hand on your hip. And again, untwisting slowly so that momentum doesn't knock you over. Squeeze the knee back into your chest, and we'll move into warrior three. So hinging on that right hip, press back with your left leg. Keep your head up, maybe look forward. It helps to have a slight little back bend here. I don't believe in the flat back in anything, and I know some teachers disagree, so you do what you need to do. Right hand to the floor for half moon as your right hip opens, and try not to let your right thigh turn in as your left hip opens up. You can keep your gaze down, or if you want to challenge your balance, you can look up to your hand here. Not working so well for me. Good, and then take it back into a low lunge, nice and slow. Land on those toes and resituate that foot. Don't rush into any posture. Always feel balanced and certain of your stability, your foundation. High lunge, inhale. And when you exhale, then take your hands down to the floor. And you can take that right leg up and back and give it a stretch. Move your ankle and foot around if the foot was tired. The hip too, it was in flexion there for a while, so stretch it out. Come into plank pose. Inhale, take your chest through your shoulders, and then exhale, bend your elbows, Chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Smooth out that breath here. So here anything goes. If you want to bend your knees, if you want to come into child's pose, if you want to move your back around a little bit, wave it out, extend it, round it, have some fun with it, move your shoulders around. All right, so now we'll do the left side. So lift your left leg up. Look forward and see where you're going to go, and then squeeze your knee into your chest to step your foot up to the top of your mat. Nice slow movement. So the slower you move into the balancing postures, the easier the balance will be because your mind is moving slower and more focused. Right toes are on the floor, right heel is lifted. Situate your footing as it feels most stable, and then reach your arms up when you're ready. Again, you could just keep your hands at your heart, hands at hips. If you want to challenge the balance, additionally, look up to your thumbs. Keep squeezing the mat. Imagine you can squeeze the ends of the mat together with your feet, even as your legs are lengthening away from each other. And then again, with that controlled core movement, we're going to move into that twist. So keep your head up over your pelvis as you twist your right arm forward and your left arm backward. And so again, this is a core engaged movement and a core concentrated hold, so that when you do come out of the twist, it's controlled and the momentum doesn't knock you over. And then reach your arms back up to the ceiling as you do so, as you untwist. Again, we're going to shift this into a standing balancing position. So coming up with the right knee squeezing in. You can take your left hand to the front of your right shin and your right hand to your foot for the time being, or a right hand to your right hip. Jeez. Left hand then can come out to your right foot if you want to open your right arm behind. Again, try to push the right sit bone down. And you're reaching back with your right hand almost like that's pulling your left hand, pulling your right foot up. So there's a chain reaction there, right hand, left hand, right foot. And then again, control the untwisting, slow so it doesn't knock you over. Easing into this warrior three. So please touch down as you need. Maybe you need to step back a couple times with that right foot and then lift it up. So these are some modifications and some ways to move into warrior three. You can open your arms out to the side, and you can have your hands on your hips. You can have your arms forward if you really want. I like taking hands down towards the floor. And then we're going to move into half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. Left fingertips come down as your right hip opens to the ceiling, and try not to let your left hip follow the right hip so the left hip stays pointing straight forward. Where that left hand goes is going to be really important in the balancing here. You want to turn your left ribs under, so if your left hand is in too far or out too far, it's not going to feel real stable. You can look up to your right hand as you're ready. All right, and then slowly lower back down. In a lunge, take your time. Situate your feet the appropriate distance for your best balance. Yeah. Squeeze your right thigh, and then up you go with your arms. Inhale is just one nice smooth breath here to open your chest. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor. And then again here, you can open that left hip up, pull your left knee back slowly. So try to avoid any flinging motions or momentum-based movements here. And then again, you can come forward into your plank pose when you're ready, or skip it if you want to skip Chaturanga. Enjoy child's pose, tabletop, or down dog. And then if you're moving through, exhale Chaturanga, inhale upward facing dog, and exhale downward facing dog. And again, find the movement here that suits you best, opening your chest, waving your spine out, bending your knees if it feels good. All right, So take your knees down to the floor at this point for child's pose or within the next few moments, wherever you're landing. If you're enjoying down dog, stay there. Otherwise, when you're ready, child's pose, hips to heels, arms forward above head, relax. A couple breaths here just to center and ground. And again, check in with your emotions, the balanced, or imbalanced emotions. It's okay to be imbalanced. I don't know many people whose emotions are perfectly balanced. All right, and then inhale, come forward to your hips. A little bit of an up dog, wide leg here feels good. Cobra actually is what I'm in. My thighs are on the floor, but wide leg really feels good here. Just to stretch out. Then up and back, hips back over your knees. So this is a balancing class, and that mat was not even with my floorboards. It was driving me crazy. So whatever is what it is. Again, imbalanced emotions, right? All right, so you're going to come up to standing once you fix your mat and make sure that it's squared off. And we're going to come into a wide leg forward fold. So your feet, all 10 toes pointing to the edge of your mat. Feet are, as wide as apart as you can comfortably fold with balance. Hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, and down you go. Exhale, forward fold. This is balanced because you're not using your hands on the floor. You're using your core, and your feet are pushing down into the floor. So really push down into your feet. Once you get into that forward fold, if you feel like you need to adjust your feet, you can adjust them. So let your arms fall overhead. But really use your feet. Press down into your feet. Engage your core. You can adjust your arms. You can bend your elbows. If you feel like you're cranking too much into your elbows, give them a soft bend. Your head might hit the floor. If you feel like your head is hitting the floor too much, you can take your feet closer together. Good. And then release your arms, hands to the floor. We're going to take a twist. Left hand center. Right hand's going to open to the ceiling. Remember here try here to push down into both of those feet. So evenly pushing into both feet. And then release your hand down. Switch sides. Right hand center under your chest. Start to open your left ribs, left arm. From the core, try to twist, push into both feet evenly. Exhale, release. We're only going to do that one more time each side. So just twice. Right arm up, left hand on the floor, twist open. All right, and then right hand down, left hand on the floor. I'm sorry, right hand on the floor, left hand up, twist open. Good, and then you can release your left hand down as you're ready. And forward fold just one more time here. Prasarita Padottanasana, hands can come back to the floor. And Prasarita Padottanasana A version. And then a little half lift, inhale. All right, so start to walk to the right foot so you can spin and face the front end of your mat. Pyramid pose here. We're going to set up for Revolved Triangle. If you're going to use the chair, if you're going to use the blocks, get your props handy. So left hand's going to come on the outside of the right foot, right hand to the hip, and then I'm going to open my right arm up to the ceiling. If that is not good for your shoulders, if you feel like you're rounding down instead of opening up, keep your hand on your hip. Press back into your left foot, squeeze your inner thighs, and lift your right hip up to the ceiling. All right, release slowly with your exhale. Just a little stretch back if you need to stretch out that hip at any point in time. Stretch out before you move into the next balancing pose. And then we're going to come up into Revolved Half Moon. So now your left hand's going to stay on the floor. Your left foot is going to stay lifted. You're twisting open, just like Revolved Triangle, except your back foot is now up off the floor. Squeeze those thighs together. Push back with your left heel. Good. And then take your hand down. Landing. Not landing, coming up into a standing balance. I can't remember what I did here. Okay, come up to a standing balancing pose. And you're gonna pull that left knee in, and you're gonna bend your right knee, and you're gonna cross your left ankle over your right thigh. So it's a number 4 squat or a number 4 chair shape. Use the chair here if you need for balance or a wall, and you're going to send your hips back as your chest comes forward over your shin. Stay here until you get your balance, and if you want to deepen this fold, you're welcome to take your elbows. And what I do is take my forearms kind of parallel to the floor, and then hook the elbows right, or my triceps right in front of the shin. So it's almost like I'm pushing into my shin with my forearms to open my chest, or with the backs of my triceps rather, to open my chest through. Stay there in that balancing position. If you want to take this into a hand balance out of a foot balance, then you can take this down into Ekapada Galavasana. So it's flying pigeon, elbows bend. Your triceps are supporting your shin. You can keep your right knee bent, or you can float it back. And then you're going to pull the foot back up under you and come back into a standing fold. Slowly reversing that. Inhale, lift up if you were in the number 4 squat, and then pull that left knee up into your chest. Step your left leg back, turn your right or left heel down. I'm going to move forward there. And then forward fold back over your right leg into pyramid pose. Turn back to this wide leg forward fold just for a moment between sides. We'll do all that facing the other direction. So any movement here that feels good. If you need to pause the video and take a child's pose or a chaturanga or any other stretches, wide leg forward fold is fine. You can bend your knees a little side to side. And I'm going to take a tripod headstand here, just between sides for balance. Again, you can take child's pose. From Prasarita, wide leg, forward fold. I took my hands back and pressed legs up into a wide angle and then brought my legs together. You can also take your knees on the backs of your triceps from that wide leg forward fold and pause there in a tripod setup. This is Shirshasana 2, headstand 2. Press up with your feet. And then when you're ready to come out, split your legs and lower from your belly so the belly button is folding in, feet down. And then once your feet land, inhale into a half lift. Turn over to your left side this time, so pyramid pose facing the back of your mat. Folding over your left leg to prepare for Revolved Triangle, Parivrit Trikonasana. And so when you are ready to twist the triangle here, you can come up halfway and take your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. And then you're going to twist to your left. So you're going to keep that left hip lifting. The left hip likes to drop here. Left arm can come up to the ceiling, or you can keep your left hand on your hip. Keep pressing back through your right heel and stretch your head forward, the back of your head again, in line with the back of your pelvis. Open your chest through your shoulders. Try not to let your chest collapse or your shoulders round. Pushing both feet equally. And then release slowly. And again, if you need to take a little stretch out before you move into the half revolved half moon, you can take a little stretch. But when you're ready, right hand on the floor, left or right leg rather is going to lift this time. So right leg is up, right hand is down, left arm is up, left foot is standing. Revolved half moon. Parivrit Ardha Chandrasana. Squeeze those thighs together, twist from your belly, stretch up with your left hand, maybe even look up to your left hand. All right, and then your left hand comes down. Again, we're going to come up into that standing balance. So you can touch down if you need to, or you can just transition slowly up and pull your knee into your chest. And then cross your right shin over the top of your left thigh as you bend your left knee. Again, this is that number 4 chair balance or number 4 squat. Find your balance here. All right, flex your right ankle, and then you can definitely go deeper, but first make sure that you're feeling steady in this position before you bend your left knee anymore. And then when you are ready, you can slowly start to take your triceps and push them into that right shin. Palms can come together for prayer. So again, you're kind of pulling your shin back with the backs of your arms so that you can stretch your chest through your shoulders. Stay here for the next few moments, or if you'd like to squat down to your left toes, place your palms on the floor, bend your elbows like you're taking chaturanga, your shoulders move forward, not down, and then you can float your left leg back. Ikapada Galabasan, one leg flying pigeon. Gaze should be forward. And again, your chest is moving forward as your elbows press back over your wrists. I will be posting a tutorial on this posture soon. Okay, left foot back to the floor and then back into your number 4 squat so that you can get your balance here, and then take your right leg off and behind you into that pyramid forward fold. And just for a brief moment, and if you need to take in any additional stretches here, stretch out your legs, and then we're going to spin back into the wide leg forward fold. Prasarita Paruttanasana. Just wave it around a little bit if it feels good. I just want to give my wrists a break here so you can let your arms come out, palms face up. If you have a block or a chair close by, you can use them as a support rest for your head or hands. Inhale when you're ready. Push the floor away to come all the way up and step back to the top of your mat. Samastitihi. So maybe take a moment here to get your balance. Just standing, maybe close your eyes and feel your balance. And again, always checking into the state of emotions and never being mad about it or upset about it or trying to fix them, just understanding them. Inhale as you reach your arms back up, and then forward fold over your legs. Exhale. So move through Chaturanga here. You're going to step back or float back. Okay, so this wasp was really messing with me. Every time I felt a hair tickle me, I thought it was that stupid wasp. God. Chaturanga, step back or shoot back. Inhale, up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Taking time here, as always. If you need to pause longer, please do. Otherwise, when you're ready, we'll come into a tabletop position. Oh yeah, this is where I fall. This is kind of funny. So engage your core. We're going to come into a balancing table, so Chakravakasana. There is a slight back bend here. Please don't try to flatten out your low back. Look forward even and put more of a curve in your back. All right, right hand comes back down and then swoop it back and swoop it back forward. So just a little right arm shoulder mobility to make sure you're not pulling your shoulder forward too far. All right, and now we're going to go into a side plank modification. So the first thing you can do here is right hand is flat on the floor, right knee is on the floor. Right, here we go. Oh, shit, there I go. Swear to God, it was that fucking wasp and it was just a stupid hair. Balance is not easy, guys. It's no joke. Okay, so here, this is a little bit more challenging. You can sweep your heel under your under your left thigh. So if you have heel in line with the back of your knee, this is a little bit more balance challenging. So this is a second option for side plank. So the first one was with your toes behind you rather than underneath you. Then the third option is coming over into full Vasishthasana, right hand on the floor. And the whole time I was thinking, God, please don't fall. So balance is never contractual. Yeah, it can always come and go. All right, look up at your top hand for extra balance. Coming out of this nice, strong, slow, controlled movement, you can move through a Chaturanga, or you can stay there in child's pose, tabletop, or downward facing dog. Take a brief moment to relax your wrists. I like to come to the fingertips. It actually just works up those wrists more. I don't like the stretching of the wrists while I'm working them. I like to work them instead of stretching them. I stretch them after the work. All right, side 2, when you're ready, we're going to balance. And then your left arm's going to go forward, right leg's going to go back. So you can start out with your gaze down just to get a feeling for where you are, but then take your eyes forward a little bit and press back through that right foot. Press forward with your left hand. Again, you don't want to be jamming up that left shoulder. But really squeeze your right thigh. And here I'm going to take that shoulder back, my left arm back, just so I'm not reaching forward with my shoulder. It just kind of reminds me, hey, reset, gives me a reference point. And then when the left arm stretches forward again, you realize you're not pushing with your shoulder. Okay, let's move into the first version of modified side plank. So the left heel sweeps behind you, right arm up. The second option is the left heel sweeps underneath you, and then sweep your arm up. So I move my left knee forward because it is easier. So you can take your hip over your knee more for more challenge if you want. And then the third option, full side plank, come into plank first, take your feet together, and then roll over to the outside edge of your left foot. Try not to let your right heel come back, or try not to let your right hip fall back too far. Make sure that it's pointing in the direction of your toes rather than up to the ceiling. And if your toes are up to the ceiling, turn your toes to the wall. Good. And then when you're ready to come out, slow, steady transition, either child's pose or chaturanga to move and open up your chest, open up your heart. Good. Exhale back over your knees. And again, child's pose here. If you're not there already, give yourself a break. So we're going to move into a form, balance next. I'm going to take my mat and roll my mat up. I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can approach the form, stand here. They're not all great for everybody. Some will work better for you, so play with it. Right now my elbows are on the edge of my mat and my palms are on the floor. This helps lift my elbows and especially if your shoulders are tight, it just helps with the shoulder mobility. I'm taking my legs out wider as well. This also helps to get the hamstrings out of the equation a little bit more. I mean, they're still going to be there, but they're not as intense now. So here you can lift your heels and roll to your toes and push your shoulders over your elbows. Be careful not to let your shoulders go way over your elbows. Nope, we don't want that, right? They should be right over the elbows, and you don't want your head to drop and you don't want your shoulders to round. You should be looking forward beyond your fingertips, or at least to your thumbs or wrists. And then lift your heels a few times and lower them. Lift and lower, and again, resist your shoulders moving forward. All right, so you can stick with that if you liked that. You can rest for a moment. You can move it out. Stretch anything out that you need. My assistant's going to go get me a prop here in a moment. I'm going to show you using the blue bricks. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use a blue brick here. I had one, it's not big enough. So these are my 1-inch blue bricks that I have at the studio. If you have something comparable, or if you can just kind of put a blanket under your mat, that might be a better solution for you because you probably don't have these at home. But if you have a blanket that you can put under your mat where this blue brick is, so that it's like a speed bump, and then you could put your elbows on that speed bump. All right. Hey, hi Zan. Thanks. All right, so I'm going to take 2 of these blue little bricks and I'm going to put my elbows on these guys and then my hands are going to come out to the floor. I'm actually going to put this mat up a little bit because I did not like having my wrists without anything underneath them. And then this really isn't a lot of hand work, so you can actually flip your palms up here. You could take your pinky fingers to the floor. Moving your forearms, pronating them a little bit more will help, or supinating them a little bit more will help to open your shoulders. But here you can play with now lifting one leg up and rolling to the tippy toes. Again, shoulders should not move over your elbows. Okay, so that's another option. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so this one I'm going to take my hands around the bricks. So if you have a broader shoulder girdle, a yoga block isn't going to seem big enough. So I'm framing the ends, the edges of these blue bricks with my fingers, thumb and index finger, and then that's going to keep my hands from sliding forward. And then see if you can't get a little balance. You can stick with just the heel lifting and lowering. You can stick with the one leg lifting and lowering, or you can take a little hop. Try not to look to your elbows when you hop. Make sure that you're looking forward to the blue bricks or towards the top end of your mat or your wrists. Rest a moment in child's pose if you need a rest. Of course, you might not be doing all of these options. Maybe you want to watch through these options first and then go back and pause the video and practice the one that works best for you. So now I'm going to switch to the block, the yoga block instead. I'm going to show you here the size difference. So this was pretty big, which is good. Like I said, especially if you're a guy and you've got bigger shoulder girdle, but the block actually works better for me. So I'm going to switch to a block now, framing the end of the block. And then again, shoulders over elbows, and it's a little hop. Make sure you're looking to the block. There we go. Once I looked forward, it worked so much better. Let your legs stagger. So bend your knees, both of them, and use the legs on either side of your torso, front and back, for balance. And then you can slowly come down, child's pose. Okay, so there's another option for you. Again, rest, or keep working on the option that you are working with. Make sure you're doing both sides evenly. So if you're hopping up with the right foot, take a moment to rest, and you're going to come up and hop up with the left foot. So you're not hopping all the time on one side. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you here is with a chair and using a strap on your form. So the strap, you want to take a loop in a belt that is as big as your, it's as long as your two shoulder heads, from shoulder head to shoulder head. So right here, shoulder head to shoulder head, the center of your shoulders. Mine needs to be a little longer. That looks a little bit better. And then when you put it on your arms, it does not go any higher than your elbow creases. So when you bend, it's at the bottom of your forearm, your upper arm, the humerus bone. All right, so this is really funny because this is what I do. I was way too close and I feel like a complete idiot. Like I couldn't move. Right, so no. Sometimes I just wonder how I make it through life. All right, here we go. Jeez. So that chair, put it at the back end of your mat. That's better. All right, block at the front end of your mat, shoulders over your elbows. Oh, here we go. Now I can actually move like a normal person. Well, normal-ish. And then your toes up to the chair seat. Here you go. Now one leg can lift. Now you can really feel that. Oh, okay. So now there's not a hopping. Because the hopping sometimes causes your shoulders to dump. So right here, my shoulders are starting to drop. I really need to push down to my elbows and get those shoulders to lift higher. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Push, push, push with your shoulders. Push with your elbows. So push down into your elbows from your shoulders. That will push your shoulders back up to the ceiling. So maybe you should just stay there with your feet on the chair and working the shoulder shrugs, like pushing up and down with your shoulders. It's almost like a shoulder push-up. All right, so take a break from that, rest. Little child's pose, maybe some wrist movement if you need to massage your wrists, stretch them out, or your elbows. You can take some shoulder opening, windmills and stuff, shoulder circles. And then I'm going to give you one more little, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember if I do two more. But anyways, we're going to do some more. It's relentless. Forearm stand. Elbows under your shoulders here. Now I'm going to put my feet on a block. There we go. And start to teeter off the block. So looking towards your wrists. There we go. Yeah. And then you can do a little quick switch of your feet and then hop off the other side. Again, bend your knees like pinwheel, so you've got one leg on each side of your torso. And then when you do push up to the ceiling, allow it to be a back bend. If you're finding airtime here, it's definitely a back bend, okay? You've got to let that back soften or else you're just going to jam up. All right, and then take a break, a little rest, no more forearm standing, I hope. Hope that was it. I think so. Okay, so come up to seated and hero pose for a moment just to find your balance. At the beginning of class, we did this, so check back in, same thing. Check in with your emotions, check in with your body, front, back, side to side, top to bottom. It's all about balance. All right, so just a moment to ground either in downward facing dog with your forehead resting on a block or in child's pose with your forehead resting on the floor. Maybe even a standing forward fold with your head resting on a chair or your arms resting on a chair. Close your eyes on here and just take a moment to check in. And then we're going to come down to hands and knees and move into a twist. But first, we'll take child's pose. If you're already in child's pose, you can come up into tabletop and maybe take a few cat-cows. Child's pose just to get you out of that downward facing dog if that's where you were, or in a forward fold. And then in the next few moments, we'll come up here into the heart opening pose. So stay here as long as you need. We're coming from the floor to seated, or from standing to seated, so I just want to give you a moment to let that transition be smooth and not like sudden. Okay. In Anahatasana, once you get there, it's heart to floor, hips over knees. You can take your chin to the floor, your forehead to the floor. We're going to twist. So lift up just enough to thread your right arm through, and your left hand comes over on top of your right hand, and interlace your fingers, and then push your left hand, push your right hand away rather. So push your right hand away with your left hand and roll open. You can take your gaze in or up. Maybe even just close your eyes down here. All right, your left hand comes back out to the floor for balance. And center out in Anahatasana again. Chin can be on the floor, forehead on the floor, hips over knees. And we're going to twist to the other side. So lift up just enough to thread your left arm through. And then your right hand comes on top of your left hand. Interlace your fingers. And start to push your bottom hand away with your top hand. Chin in. Maybe roll to the back of your head. Roll to the back of your left shoulder if that's okay. Maybe even close your eyes down, just stretch out here, stretch the upper back, especially after all that forearm standing. And then your right hand comes back to the floor to unwind and sit back into child's pose again. From child's pose, come up into tabletop and just work any additional things out that need stretched. We're going to come into a wide leg forward fold. So I would suggest a couple blocks, a blanket. I'm going to put the blanket under my sitting bones. I'm going to take my legs out into a wide angle. You do not have to use a blanket here if you don't need it. If you have two blankets, it's sometimes nice to put a blanket under each knee, under the back of each knee, so you can roll it up. For all of you that know, my teacher Tiffany Alexander loves this song called Symphony, and he always substitutes Tiffany's name for the word symphony in the song. That song happened to be playing right now, and that's why we were laughing and chuckling, because he started singing Tiffany's praises apparently. Press out through your feet and rest your forehead on a block, rest your chest on a block. And maybe your forearms just relax here and palms lift up. So this was an intense, forearm stand practice right before this. And so this is a really good way to relax that. I'm just going to move through a bunch of different options here. Please find the one that feels best for you and stay there. You can also, scrub through the video and see which one works best for you, and then stay there for just about a minute or two. Now I'm going to move to a chair-based version here. So I'm going to put a block under each thigh, back of the knee area, maybe back of the hamstring area. Again, the blanket under the sit bones, forehead on the chair seat. And so with the block supporting my legs, it actually kind of gave me a better hamstring and inner thigh release. So keep in mind that the props aren't necessarily making it easy. Sometimes it makes it harder. And then I'm going to move my chair away so I can actually just let my arms rest on that bottom crossbar of the chair legs. And the forehead can come. If you've got an extra block or blanket, you could put that under your forehead. And I think that this was for me the best. Like, this felt really good. So play with it. See which one feels better for you. Or create your own unique forward fold here. Prop it up as it feels good. Again, after being there for about a minute, again, you can pause the video if you need, but we're going to come up out of that, and you can move some stuff out of the way here if you need. So we're going to move into Gomukhasana cow face pose. This is a challenging posture for a lot of people. We're going to start by crossing the right shin over your left thigh. Your left heel is wrapped around your right hip. And then as you're comfortable, as you can start to take those knees and pull. It's almost like a shoestring pulling your feet so your knees line up. A blanket under the bottom knee is nice. Also, sitting on a blanket might help, or sitting on a block might help. That will help lift your hips higher and allow for more rotation in the femurs. a block under your knees in addition is fine. And then this actually I wouldn't recommend what I'm going to do next, but you could put a chair in front, yeah. But right here I put my head on that block and with my knees up, it gave me like a massive belly cramp or inner thigh cramp. I can't remember. I got a cramp somewhere. That was not fun for me. So again, this is unique to you. Make sure that it feels good to you. Yeah, I had a stupid thigh cramp. I had to stretch it out there. So play with this. Feet can lift away from your hips for a more intense outer hip stretch, but I just want you to rest here for a few moments. Take your time to get a comfortable position. And maybe close your eyes down once you're here in a forward fold and check back in with the balance, especially in a posture like this where it's asymmetrical and you're seated. There's not a lot of balance going on, but you can still feel a sense of balance here. Notice the difference between sides. Notice the similarities between sides. And then notice, again, the balanced or imbalanced state of your emotions. Use your breath here, breathing right into your ribs, into your low back. Right, and then start to come up out of that, and we'll situate for the next side, resituate. So you can lean back, uncross your legs. If you need to take any movement, maybe some windshield wipers. I'm going to take a seated Dandasana, just an easy little twist off to one side, and then the other. So seated in staff pose, twisting from side to side. And then you're going to wrap your other leg under. So now the right leg comes under and around the left hip. You can start with your left shin on top of your right thigh. Here I'm going to show you the chair. Can you see me? Hi, there I am, peekaboo. You can rest your forehead on the chair. This is nice. This is cozy. Okay, more blocks, blankets. Take your time to set up Gomukhasana, forward fold here, cow face, forward fold. If you want your feet to come up a little farther away from your hips or back in a little closer. I like blocks on elbows. Even staying in one version for a few moments and then moving to a different version, to a different modification. Might get into some extra nooks and crannies there. But again, feel your breath here, in and out from your nose. Moving breath from your belly to your back. And noticing how your pelvis relaxes on the inhale and your throat pressure drops on the exhale. Let your feet relax. Let your jaw and face relax. All right, and then we'll start to come out of this slowly. Roll back up to seated. Uncross your legs cautiously. Just be careful with that. Sometimes you feel it more coming out of it than being in it. All right. And then we're going to set up here a little Supta Virasana. If hero pose, we did that at the beginning of class. If it's very uncomfortable for you, you can practice this just on your sit bones. But if you're okay to come into a kneeling position, you can sit on the block in hero. You do not have to go into a reclining position at all here. You can use that chair behind you for your elbows actually. But I'm going to use this block under sit bones and then another block under my upper back and then a blanket under my head. And sometimes it's just awkward to get into this because you can't see behind you where that block is. And then your head can rest. So my block was starting to angle a little bit. I knew I wasn't going to be here long. I just wanted to show you an option. So if you're going to be here long, fix that block under your upper back and make sure it's not angling like that. That felt stupid. But if you're in this, your arms can be overhead. All right, so I'm going to show you another option here. Taking the 2 blocks, 1 under your upper back, 2 under your upper back, and then blanket. So I put the 2 blocks on their shortest height, and then my head comes back to the blanket here, and then arms overhead. This one actually felt better for me. I'm also dealing with this stupid ankle, this sprain that just won't seem to heal. So this posture can be a little challenging for me in certain positions. If you need 2 blankets or 3 blankets, and then you can take your hands to your elbows and comb your hair with your forearms. It's a nice stretch for your upper back or for your upper chest and shoulder area. Again, you can take this without your feet underneath and behind. You can have your feet on the floor in a constructive rest position. Switch the crossing of your forearms. Grab the other elbow. So just kind of, if like right forearm was on top, flip it so left forearm's on top, and then comb your hair again. Not trying to get your arms to the floor, just stretching. Hugging, really. Think of it like a hug. Right, and then release your arms and push back up to seated. All right, so I'm going to show you here instead of the Virasana. In fact, after Hero, just come into this. It feels good. If you're already here, you don't have any more work to do. You're home free. Hard on those blocks. Again, get this blanket. This blanket was giving me some grief. So 2 blankets would have been nice, or an extra couple blocks, but get that blanket wadded up so it's big enough to actually support your head. There we go. Yeah. And here's what I was talking about. It's a little constructive rest with the heart opening. And you can stretch your arms overhead here. Again, you can cross your forearms, frame your elbows, and comb your hair with your forearms. And then switch the crossing of your arms if that feels good. Or if that was something that you liked, switch the crossing of your arms. If you just had your arms overhead, you can just stretch them out overhead. All right, so hopefully these 2 movements got your chest and your airways open. So we're going to come up and take alternate nostril breathing. We did this yesterday in the stress relief practice. So we're going to do it again here in the balancing practice because alternate nostril is like the balancing breath. So get yourself set up. You can pause for a moment after that heart opener in a seated position before moving into the pranayama practice. And come in to sit on a block or a chair, cross-legged. You can sit on the floor if your hips allow. If you're sitting on the floor and your hips are drooping under, you're not going to have a big tall posture for the best breath. So make sure that you're seated evenly here and finding balance in this posture. Shoulders are over your hips, chin over your chest, ears over your shoulders, and the back of your head over the back of your hips. We'll just start with a few rounds of natural breath. And when you're ready, your right hand is going to seal your nostrils. You're going to start by sealing your right nostril and inhaling through your left. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to switch nostrils. You're going to seal your left and unseal your right and breathe out of your right nostril. And then when you're ready to inhale, you're going to inhale back through the right nostril. Seal your right nostril, release your left, and exhale through the left. And that's 1 round. And then when you're inhaling, it's back through the left. When you're ready to exhale, seal the left, open your right side, and exhale through the right nostril. When you're ready to inhale, inhale back through the right side. Seal the right side, exhale out of the left. And that's 2 rounds. And then inhale back through the left. And when you're ready to exhale, seal your left, release your right, and exhale through the right nose, right nostril. Inhale back through the right. Seal the right side, release your left, and exhale. That's 3 rounds. Inhale back through your left. And as you exhale, seal the left, release your right. Through the right nostril, you breathe out. You'll inhale back through the right side. Seal the right side and exhale through your left side. And this is 4 rounds. We'll just do 1 more. Inhale back through your left. Close off your left and exhale out of your right. Inhale back through your right side. And then seal the right and exhale out of your left. This is the 5th and final round. As soon as you finish your exhale, release your right hand and inhale through both nostrils. And just pause here for a few rounds of breath through both sides of your nose, feeling your breath move up through your lungs evenly, right and left side. Feel your breath move in the front side of your body and the back side of your body. And then you can move your stuff out of the way and set up for relaxation. So yesterday we did the breathing exercise after the Shavasana portion of the practice. So today we did it before. I just want you to notice the difference. Usually I can find the most balanced and comfortable relaxation after practicing alternate nostril breathing. And so for you, maybe it's different. See how it feels for you. And these are just tools that you can use in your own practice. Take a few moments, relax your jaw, relax your face, relax your shoulders and your fingers. Maybe after a few rounds of breath here, you realize there's some gripping in your shoulders, so you can work that out. You can scoot your shoulder blades softer on the floor. Maybe you're gripping your hips. You can relax your glutes. Maybe you notice you're gripping your legs or your toes, and you can let those relax. And then you're welcome to stay here reclining on your back or come to seated. We're going to move into a meditation. If you'd like more time here, please just pause the video and relax in Shavasana, and then pick back up when you're ready with our guided meditation. All right, so in this meditation, we're going to focus on this mantra meditation, Satanama. And I love this mantra meditation. You can say it out loud, you can think it, you can whisper it, but we'll use a little mudra in combination with the mantra to focus on energy and balance and grounding. Okay. So right here where you are comfortable, just notice the energy in your body. Notice the balanced effect of your practice. Your eyelids can close softly. And we're going to coordinate movement with the hands with these syllables. The first one is Sa. Press your index finger and thumb together and think or say Sa. And then press your middle finger and thumb together and think or say ta. Press your ring finger and thumb together and think or say na. And then press your little finger and thumb together and think or say ma. When you think these sounds or speak these sounds or whisper, you can visualize each sound coming out through the top of your head, releasing any negative energy and balancing the positive energy and emotions and physical sensations. So continue to use your fingers pressing and the mantra vocalization or internal thought, right? Internal mantra. Sa, ta, na, ma. Index finger, sa. Middle finger, ta. Ring finger, na. Pinky finger, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And then if you're saying these out loud, switch to a whisper. Sa, ta, na, ma. And then quietly think sa, ta, na, ma for the next few moments. And then just let your hands relax, let your mind relax, let your throat relax. And just be here with that energy resonating in your body with those simple syllables. That's all they were, just sounds. No meaning, no deeper meaning at all, just sounds. You can repeat this meditation as long as you'd like today. And when you're finished, come to seated. And as always, bow to you, all of your efforts here and everywhere. And thank you so much for practicing with me.